Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and Andy, are you over there? Oh, there you are, Andy.
What? Hold on.
Get over here in the studio, Andy.
Just clamber through, just roll through. Like Ron Burgundy coming off the street.
I like to surprise you when we start, you know?
I'm here. We can do the news now.
Exactly. We're so glad you're here, and I'm glad you didn't drop through the roof like last week.
Right? Yeah, we're going to have to patch that whole window.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate you being on theme, but that's a bit much.
Yeah,
it's a bit much.
I'm sorry.
But last week, we covered the roofman. The roof man. Either way, he was a criminal who dropped through roofs, mainly of McDonald's, and, shuffled all the people into the freezer, did a little hold-up, was very polite.
Yeah, the
apologized, right?
The most polite burglar we've ever covered.
He really was. He's probably one of my favorite criminals. I don't know if you can say that, but can you say that?
I think
we can say. I think I've earned the right to say that.
He actually, not like a Robin Hood figure, because he wasn't like giving to the poor, but he was definitely stealing from the rich.
He did a little bit of that while he was on the run.
I mean, a little bit,
here
and there. But like stealing from McDonald's, like stealing from a multi-billion-dollar corporation, just chump change at a time.
That seems a lot less of an offense to people nowadays, doesn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
You feel it, because take down the big man. Yeah, it's like, people weren't as mad. Like, I feel like the cops weren't even that mad. They were like, oh shit, cool.
It was just kind of cool to catch a guy like that, right? He probably has a pretty welcome. He probably gets a pretty warm welcome even in prison.
I know, right?
The roof.
Like I said, even the cops, when they were chasing him, they were like, this guy's good.
This guy's good, and he's polite.
This guy's got skills, and he's not hurting anybody. This is kind of cool.
He's okay.
We're kind of just going to follow. This is cool. Front row seats here.
But check that out, guys. And you can also check out the extended version on Patreon, as always, patreon.com/truecrimeguys, where you can help us continue to do whatever it is we do here. Right, Andy?
Shits and giggles, baby.
Exactly. Also, not on Patreon, on the free platform or wherever you listen to podcasts, you can check out new episodes of our other show, Strange and Unexplained. New episodes come out every Monday or sometimes Tuesday. Things happen. But it is a show that covers paranormal happenings and unsolved crimes. That's more of the focus of Strange and Unexplained. So if you guys have not checked that out, please, there's over 140 episodes available on the free platform. And just like with True Crime Guys, you can get extended versions on Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. Now, before we get started, right off the bat, we got to do a graphic warning content for this one. Okay?
Oh, you got to do gold star, platinum star, red star, every star.
This is just, it's not child abuse because of the age of the person, but this is, just above that warning, I guess.
Yeah.
This is a rough one, guys. On January 4th, 2022, 64-year-old Sheila Fletcher and her husband, 65-year-old Clay Fletcher, found their 36-year-old daughter, Lacey, dead on their couch. Apparently, for at least 12 years, Lacey Fletcher had been neglected by her parents after becoming basically couch-ridden due to cognitive decline. Lacey had been diagnosed with social anxiety and severe autism. But after this decline, Sheila and Clay abandoned their daughter on the couch to suffer in her own feces, even allowing bugs to eat at her body. Lacey's death gained worldwide media coverage for obvious reasons. Things like this just don't happen. I mean, a Google search, the pictures alone are horrific. They're hard to look at. Be warned. Yeah. All right, let's roll that intro, Andy. Let's get into it.
All right.
When I got there, the officers, the first responders on scene were just in a daze. They were just standing there. They were on the outside. When I walked in, the house smelled of a stench of. It smelled like a sewer, a septic tank, and also a smell of death. When I walked through the door, to the right of me in the kitchen, Clay and Sheila Fletcher were standing there. Clay was standing there emotionless. The mom had her head between her knees. I saw a tear or two. I've never seen a homicide like this. I have never seen an individual, a human being, literally tortured and allowed to die while she is alive. Lacey did not decompose. She rotted in her own body, in that hole, in that sewer, in the couch.
All right. So our case this week is Lacey Ellen Fletcher. Lacey was born November 25th, 1985, in a town called Slaughter, Louisiana. She was autistic, and up until high school, it didn't really seem to affect her much. But around the time she was 14, her parents, Sheila and Clay, withdrew her from school, opting instead for homeschooling. Her friends around this time claimed that she was less mature than them, or at least seemed that way. It seemed that they were kind of moving on, getting into, horror movies and punk music and things like that. And she's still interested in Disney movies and more childish things, right? That's how it appeared to her friends, at least.
It seemed like that apparently to like some of the teachers and people who were originally around her as well too. They kind of noticed at like that age, or like she seems like she's just not fitting in as much.
Right. Not like she used to.
Yeah, she kind of started falling behind.
Yeah. So. Now, a lot of her friends claimed that she, as far as like intelligence, like she was smart as a whip.
Yeah, that's something that, I mean, if she, I guess that's a common autism thing, but yes, I mean, sometimes people they can hyper focus onto things. They can be incredibly smart in certain areas because that's just the way their brain is wired. It's just their brain processes information differently, and that's the way that hers just seemed to focus.
Yeah. Well, apparently as she was getting older, she was, things were becoming more difficult for her, and I guess in turn, more difficult for her parents. Now, you get mixed reviews when you ask around about Sheila and Clay. On one hand, some folks said that they were gold and would do anything for anyone. And on the other hand, some said that they were known to complain about Lacey, stating that they didn't sign up to be caregivers when they became parents. That's harsh. Actually, you did.
You did. When you became parents, you signed up for everything. For every baby requires a caregiver. For one, that's just a psychotic thing to think, too. It's like, you have a baby, you are a caregiver. Like, babies don't do anything for themselves.
Right. It doesn't matter what the needs of your child are. That child is your responsibility.
Yeah.
And according to her parents and neighbors, when Lacey was 24, a further decline in her mental health left her unable to leave the house at all. And even worse, she became confined to the family's leather couch. Here's a quote from her father, Clay. He said, "Her world closed in on her gradually because of her phobias, her fears, and her social anxieties. The couch was her sanctuary. It was her comfort zone." And so that's just where you leave her? Like,
yeah, everybody can have a comfort zone. Everybody can have a safe space. Everybody can have something that they feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
But the notion that you would then basically just leave your child there. Like, I understand, kids want to stay in their bed. They want to stay in their gaming chair.
This is the tough part here, Andy. She's 24 years old. At what point do you let her make her own decisions? But at the same time, how do you sit back and let someone suffer like this? An adult or not, I just don't see how you stand by and let it happen. Also, let's take a minute and talk a little bit about Sheila and Clay, okay? First off, Sheila was a town alderman and the right-hand advisor to the mayor, and also worked with the police department in a neighboring town.
Okay.
So she's juggling a lot.
Right,
but she may be doing this to distract herself and stay away from home. Maybe she's like, the more shit I can do, the better.
To keep me out of this house that smells like a morgue. This house, jumping ahead a little bit, this house does not smell good. When the cops arrive. So let's just get there.
Right. But first, let's talk about her father as well. Clay was an officer for a nonprofit called the Baton Rouge Civil War Round Table. And this is, I guess, the most important thing about him.
Yeah.
I can't find anything else about this man, and it's about as exciting as it sounds. The Baton Rouge Civil War Round Table stands to provide a nonpartisan atmosphere to educate and foster an appreciation for the sacrifices made by all during the Civil War, Andy.
Listen, if your whole life is about being a Civil War reenactor, I guess is what this guy is. I mean, or he runs a
It's a
he does, like,
nonprofit.
yeah, so it's not
So-
like it's like a museum.
So he's
or
laundering
a-
money?
Yeah, like, what
I
do you
don't.
through wools and pelts? I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, I don't know what this guy's up to, but who really cares about Clay?
They seem to
honestly?
be very. That's the one thing that this
Yeah.
case kept talking about is this family was so normal. There was nothing that stood out.
Yeah, on the outside. Yeah,
There was no like, oh, they've been doing this for years, or they haven't been like it was this on the side. It was like even when the crimes were found out,
Yeah.
it wasn't like they had like another secret life that was more interesting. It's like no,
Well-
this was just their whole fucking boring life.
Well, a lot of people realized they had a secret daughter who was
Yeah, that's the big
rotting
gig.
away on their couch.
Yeah, but it wasn't like one of those criminals who it's like when you find a serial killer, it's like they had their boring life as a landscaper, but really they were killing 50 people. It's like, no, it was like these
No.
people just had their entire boring life and then they were just keeping their daughter hidden away, but then they weren't doing
Dude,
anything. It wasn't like they
even
had like
the
this
rest of their-
secret, exciting life, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they weren't like keeping their daughter locked away so they could go like live an extravagant, child-free life. They were still living just like a boring local
Well,
life.
in a sense, we'll talk more about that because they did go out and go on vacations and shit and leave her there.
Yes, but
So
you know.
there, we'll get into that. So let's get into more of the actual condition. These are the day-to-day conditions before her death. Okay, her parents would place towels around the couch, so Lacey's feces and urine would be easier for them to clean. In hopes that she would, I guess, just go on the towels, or because she was terrified to leave the couch. And she was there for 12 years. So I guess they were bringing food and water back and forth. But in stark contrast to this filth that Lacey was living in, the rest of their house was extremely clean. According to others, but I bet it didn't smell like it though.
No, you
Andy.
couldn't.
It couldn't have smelled like it.
You couldn't
Or
have
maybe
gotten
she
near.
was like in a den that they could close off completely or something.
No, they said that like,
She was in the living room.
Every one of the officers who talked about it and all the interviewers said that like when you came in that house, it was unbearable. Like there was like
Well, I
no
realized
way you
that,
could
but
be, like,
by the time they found Lacey, she'd been dead for over a day. Okay, so that's
True.
why the house was so bad when
Well,
they showed up.
no, because if you've been dead for over a day, the smell of decomposition is not going to be
Okay,
that
look, she's
strong.
been
Yeah,
dead for over a
she's-
day, but she passed while they were out of town. So she had been stuck on that couch with no food,
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
sitting in her
she's-
own feces, not being cleaned for probably 3-4 days.
Yeah.
And then she passes.
Yeah. The representation that I could really get my head around was, do you remember the movie Seven with Brad
Yes.
Pitt and Morgan Freeman?
Oh my God, yes.
When they find the sloth.
Sloth, yep.
This is kind of in that same sense of like one human being in one spot, like on a bed, on a couch for like for but that guy was there for a year.
Yeah.
But this girl was there for like a decade. Like just there, just rotting away and fusing into this leather couch.
There's actually been quite a few cases of people having to be separated from furniture or dying not separated from it.
Yeah, very
You
true.
know? But as Lacey was wasting away, her clothes started draping off of her body, mainly because Clay and Sheila, like I said earlier, would leave for days, sometimes weeks at a time on vacation, basically leaving her there with whatever's in her reach. So if they didn't leave anything out in front of her, usually they had a table out in front of her and it had different supplies on it.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm guessing like paper towels,
Yeah.
hand sanitizer, that kind of stuff, just basic things. But eventually she's going to run out of that shit. And it doesn't do much good if you can't leave that spot.
Yeah, if she's not going to leave that spot.
Exactly. And, while they're away, she eats all of her food within a few days or whatever. I mean, this happens and repeats over and over again. And then they're busy people. They're out and about. How often is she getting fed during the day? By this point, her muscles have atrophied. Mice had even begun to eat at her legs
Yeah.
little by little before she passed. Like they could tell that was happening before. From
Yeah.
the bottom of the couch, Andy.
Yeah, they were going through the couch into like burrowing into her.
Yes.
Like bugs and rodents and just it It is a disgusting visual image, and yeah, it's rough to think about, but
And
yeah, and to think about like to say like she didn't have any care or they didn't provide like care for her. It's like, okay, if she's an adult and we want to make her own decisions, it's like, okay, well you have the abilities to bring care to her. Like
Yeah.
if she won't go to a doctor can come to her.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
you have the
should have
money,
brought
you
someone in
have-
from the
yeah.
outside, but I guarantee you it was just too embarrassing for them
Mm-hmm.
when they finally decided they needed to do something, and then they just kept putting it off. They're like, we can't have people see our daughter like this.
Possibly.
We can't have people in our home like this.
Yeah, how do you just keep putting it off
Yeah.
until is it out of shame or embarrassment or like what? Like, yeah, you can't really wrap your mind
Resentment.
about what it is.
Resentment
To an
could
extent,
be.
yeah.
You ruined our lives, like you were fine for 14 years and now all of a sudden you're a burden
Yeah,
because
now
you've
you're-
stopped maturing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can imagine their resentment.
Yeah.
She looks like an adult. She's coming into adulthood and all of a sudden she still wants to be a kid. They're like, "No, you grow up."
We thought we were gonna only have a few more years of you.
Yeah.
You know.
I bet that's how it started. And then they were like, "Okay, no, you're old enough. You want to make your own decisions, then you just sit there."
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, one of the most heartbreaking things is something else they found afterwards is that there were signs that she had been actually trying to lift herself out of the couch. But because of being so malnourished and the atrophy in her leg muscles, she literally couldn't. So
That and honestly being fused
And being
to the,
fused, yeah, absolutely.
She had become connected to the leather.
in addition to the starvation, the bone infections, and eventually sepsis is what caused her death.
Oh, absolutely. It would be like I said. This is rotting from the outside in to an extent. Like she slowly rotted away.
But she starved too, ultimately, because there were couch cushion particles in her stomach and under her fingernails where she had scratched them out of the couch to eat. She was literally trying to eat the couch.
The foam from the couch.
Yes.
And that was one of the big things too. The fact that they did find the couch foam in her stomach was like one of the big things that some of the doctors said. It was like, okay, well, if she's able to eat this on her own, then she wasn't locked in. That locked in syndrome that kept getting tossed around.
Yes.
They're like,
well, we will talk about that. That was
that was like, okay, that might be something that
was a freaking Hail Mary defense right there.
I think locked in is what Cher has.
Right.
I think it's Cher. But yeah, it's a horrifying thing, but they kind of threw that around after they found her. So I think that might be one of the big disproving
Cher
things.
has locked in syndrome?
I think it's Cher. I think it's Cher or Celine Dion. I'll have to Google that right during the next conversation break. But
Yeah, you should definitely
it's one of
do
those
that.
two like major big diva singers has like the locked in syndrome. But yeah, it's like it literally is. It completely turns you into a
you're basically
living-
trapped in your body.
Yeah.
If
But
I-
yeah, it's like just your body becomes unable to move. You can't move, you can't talk, you can't move your muscles.
And see, she was scratching at the couch. She was feeding herself. She was eating yeah, you're right. That is what they end up using to disprove that. But you'd be surprised. Like when I was watching some of the older newscasts, so many, medical professionals and stuff that they interviewed talked about how they never even heard of locked-in syndrome. Like, all my years, I never heard of locked-in syndrome.
It's not a common thing. And it's Celine
Apparently.
Dion that has it, not Cher.
Okay.
It's Celine Dion.
Celine Dion.
But yeah, it's not a common thing. It's not something that is like, people used to always talk about when we were kids getting lockjaw from like if you get tetanus, you'll get lockjaw and your jaw will lock shut and you won't be able to say anything. It's like it's not something that's like a common threat or like a common thing. It's like careful, you'll get locked in. So it's like no, locked in syndrome is like a nightmare. It is one of those things that like when doctors actually hear about it, they're like, you have what? Like, we don't know what to do with that. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like Dr. House mystery that he would probably just hang himself over. Like it is a nightmare what locked in syndrome really could be.
Right.
So I don't believe that that Lacey has locked in syndrome at this point though.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't. But on January 3rd of 2022, her mother, Sheila, called 911 and said that she had found Lacey not breathing on their couch. Emergency services arrived at the home and found Lacey's lifeless, partially clothed, and malnourished 96 pounds, that's 44 kilograms, if you're wondering, 96-pound body fused into the family's leather couch with obvious signs of neglect. I mean, she's fused into the couch. I mean,
Yeah,
that pretty much sums it up. That doesn't happen over the course of a day or a couple days.
and you're not living alone.
No.
So, there's two people in the house with her. Oh, they're her parents.
Wow.
This is what's called neglect.
Yes. And to make things worse, it was determined that Lacey had been dead for 1 to 2 days before Sheila had finally decided to call 911. Sheila and Clay told police that it had been Lacey's own decision to lie in those conditions for 12 years. But her autopsy was still ruled a homicide. The coroner was a 30-year vet, and he said that this case chilled him to the bone. And many investigators said that they couldn't sleep or eat for a week after the case due to just mental distress.
Oh, dude, like I said, it was unbearable to walk into that house.
Apparently, there are things in the autopsy that just people don't want to mention, man. Like, you can't find it. Like, it's I guess it's classified. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's the kind of stuff that they want to black out on an autopsy report to an extent. Like, we need to,
I mean, you can only imagine.
Redacted. It's
if rats were eating at her legs, man.
And bugs were growing in her. Like, maggots were in there. Like, it is a scene from a horror movie. Like I said, the scene from Seven is kind of one of the only things I can really describe it as. And yeah, the officers who came in that house, they immediately, they were like, what do you mean you don't, this is something that's like not a thing to you. Like, we can't come near this house without being hit by this smell. Like,
right.
Yeah. Like, I saw one doctor that's like, yeah, you can get comfortable with a bad odor after a while.
Right.
But this was something you could not get used to.
No.
Like, no matter what you did, this odor was unbearable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, creepers. You know when you're listening to a song on the radio and you get the profound feeling that song playing was written about you? Now imagine having the power to gift that same feeling to someone you love with an original song from Songfinch that was actually written just for them. Songfinch lets you create an original, radio-quality song inspired by your own life and the people you love. It's completely unique, personal, and lasts forever. Songfinch walks you through a simple process to create your original song. Just tell them who the song is for, what style of song you want, and then share some personal details about your relationship. Then, an actual Songfinch musician of your choice will write, record, and produce your original song in just 4 to 7 days. That's what I did, creepers, and I could not be happier. I had a very special anniversary coming up with me and my girlfriend, so I went on there, I picked my own artist, I wrote the details in for the song, and here, guys, if you want to take just a tease of a listen to what I got for my anniversary, listen right here.
We're both writers and we love stories. That's where I started to merge. And ever since you domesticated me, I know that we've both grown. Now I can't imagine life without you. I love you more than you could know.
So, if that right there sounded like something you might want to give someone you care about for a special holiday, give Songfinch a try. Whether your song is for Mother's Day, Father's Day, an upcoming graduation or wedding, or just to show a loved one how much you care, start your song now to lock in a top Songfinch artist. And for a limited time, Songfinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free. So you and the lucky person you gift it to can listen to it anywhere, anytime. So go to songfinch.com/creeper and start your song today. After you purchase, you'll be prompted to go to Spotify and add Spotify streaming for your original song for free. A $50 value for free, creepers. And again, that URL is songfinch.com/creeper. Don't forget to share your song with us too at songfinch.com/creeper. Get your song today, guys. You will not regret it.
And in May of 2022, Sheila and Clay Fletcher were finally arrested and charged with second-degree murder, but were quickly released on bail. And due to an error in the official charges, which used defective language, a judge dismissed the case. Apparently, they could not be charged for murder and cruelty towards the infirm at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, luckily it wasn't like what are we gonna do? They were just like, reword it. Blap. Yeah.
Pretty much, but they did walk free for like a year.
They got to go out on bail, which was awful
For
too.
a while.
But yeah, they did immediately, like as soon as they could, they were like, re-indict them, just fucking reword it, white that out, put it back in.
Yeah, the DA was like, no, fuck you. We're going to get you.
Oh,
This doesn't happen. No.
No. And that was one thing too. They kind of missed on how would you even charge them with this? Because it's not a child, but it's not an adult who is technically in their care. You know what I mean? This wasn't because at the time, Lacey wasn't documented as as an adult needing full-time care.
Yeah, but she kind of is, and you could also make the argument that you took her out of school, you took her out of society, and kept her in your home when she was struggling with that. When really at that point, you should have gotten her help.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
See what I'm saying? So at that point, once they decided to be the sole caregivers, and then they let that happen, now they are responsible no matter what. It's like you kept her from all other forms of care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense.
Therefore, you murdered her.
Yeah. It's just it's one of those things. It's like since she was an adult and they can't, it's like, okay, well, she's an adult. So she wasn't, technically legally in your care, but she was in your care when she was a child. And this clearly started when she was, before this happened. Like it started a while ago.
Yeah.
So they were able to get some stuff, but yeah, it probably was when the DA got this. It's like, what do we charge them with? It's like, it's not, they didn't directly kill this adult. It's like, how do we word this? It's got to be one of those weird things that we got to word this correctly to make sure we get these people.
Exactly. And they did. The DA didn't give up that easy. And Sheila and Clay were re-indicted on murder by a grand jury in June of 2023. And on February 6th of 2024, Sheila and Clay pleaded no contest in a plea deal that involved the charge being reduced to manslaughter. If convicted of second-degree murder, they would have faced life without the possibility of parole, and the prosecution stated that they were going to seek the maximum manslaughter sentence, which was 40 years in prison, so that they could still achieve somewhat of a life sentence for Sheila and Clay. I mean, they're both in their 60s.
Oh, yeah, you get that 40 good years in there.
40 years, that just kind of sums it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that deserves to be a life in prison. But yeah, this is what, like I said, you got to word this right so you can make sure you get the max.
Got them. They got them. They got the 40 years because on March 20th, 2024, they were each sentenced to 20 years in prison with a consecutive 20-year suspended sentence. So if you're unfamiliar, consecutive means they have to wait for the first 20-year prison sentence to be over before the next one starts. So it is 40 years.
That's how, God, I love that legal jargon right there.
Yep.
Don't worry, it's 20 years consecutive, but it's, past. What does that mean? It's 40.
Yeah, Judge Catherine Jones said, "We can argue about whether or not this process took 3 months, 6 months, or 3 years. I don't really care. This was a tragedy. The truth is that Lacey laid on a couch and slowly died because she got no medical or mental health care." It's the truth.
Yeah, like I said, you could have brought a doctor in there at any point. You could have brought anybody in there at any point. Doctor, police, fire, anybody could have come in there and saved this child, like this woman.
Dude, I think they knew that she was close. I think they knew she was close to passing. And you also have to remember, it's been 12 years since anyone saw Lacey. And last time they saw her, she was an adult. She was 24, right? Well into adulthood. And half the damn neighborhood didn't even know they had a daughter.
Yeah,
no one came over. They didn't have visitors. That wasn't a regular thing.
You couldn't. You couldn't have visitors with that smell. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So you have to think that their plan was they were going to come home from a vacation. They were going to find her, and they were going to just get rid of the whole couch.
I think so too, because it's like we're going to talk about the 911 call and kind of some of the theories and kind of he said, she said things that go along with the 911 call that was placed. But yeah, because it doesn't really, it's like, why would you call 911 at this point, Sheila? It's like,
because like we said, we alluded to, she was kind of pushed by a neighbor.
Yeah.
There was a neighbor who got a little extra curious, I think. And for some reason or another, looked in the window and saw Lacey laying on the couch, not moving, you just thin as a rail.
Yeah.
Obviously sick. And she calls Sheila, or he or she, I don't even know. They call Sheila, and they basically say, you need to call 911. Your daughter needs help right now.
Yep.
So instead of calling 911 then, she comes home. They come home.
Yeah. Because they're trying to how can we cover this up? How can we get around this?
And I think they realize we already have a witness. We can't.
Yeah, someone's already seen her now.
We need to call 911 and just hope for the best. I don't know what. How do you get your story straight from that, man? You don't.
It's like, and the 911 call is like, my daughter's not breathing. It's like, lady,
I mean, look, it'd be one thing if she sat there and like just ate herself to death. Like she was like 400 pounds, 500 pounds, and just like sunk into the couch and never chose to get up. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's one thing. And even that, I consider a mental disorder as well, right? That person needs help too. But the fact that she was unable to get up and she basically starved.
Yeah.
That was the main issue.
Yeah, this wasn't self-induced, addiction type behavior. This was neglect and mental illness that her parents chose to ignore.
Exactly.
So yeah, there was there was one neighbor who like apparently went over and asked one time, like one guy did remember. He was like, "Whatever happened to your daughter?" It was like when she was like, I think she would have been like 21 at the time.
Yeah.
I think he saw her out like in the neighborhood. He saw her like walking just in the front yard. Like she wasn't like out far. He saw her, and then like several days later he asked, he was like, "Where's your daughter been?"
Yeah.
Or he's like expecting that, her dad would say like, "Oh, she moved away. She's gone to college. She's just not around as much."
Yeah.
But apparently, like her dad just kind of very quickly was like, "Oh yeah, she still lives here." Anyways, you catch that and just like immediately change the subject to something else, and just was like, "Oh yeah, she's still here." Anyways, and so the neighbor just kind of was like, okay, yeah, I guess she's just, he had heard that she had anxieties and social awkwardness. And he's like, okay, I guess she just doesn't come out much. I guess I must miss her if she does come out. But
yeah.
And then finally that same neighbor was the one who told some of the news broadcasts, it's like, no, another neighbor finally saw her.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't me, but somebody finally saw her and like called Sheila.
Yep.
So yeah, like the neighbor, like some people
that
remembered
pushed
her.
everything, because if that neighbor doesn't call and they come home and they find her dead,
yeah,
I promise you, we probably don't know about this, Andy, or it's a very different story. Mm-hmm. It's what happened to Lacey Fletcher.
Yeah, because this is also one of those things where I thought about, when they talk about criminals and they have their like secret life and their secret plans and their all those things, and they're her dad and her mom's like. They're kind of boring. It's like they didn't have like a big secret life. Like they had her. She was the secret.
Right.
So it's like, it wasn't like they were, hoarding a bunch of money or anything or planning like a getaway. So like they were going to like wait for her to die and then they were going to disappear. It wasn't like they had it didn't seem like they had any plans laid out.
No.
So it was like, what are you guys going to do if she does die? Like, what are you guys going to do? How are you going to just leave her here still? Are you going to take this outside? Like, do you guys don't
I guess
seem like
they just figured that since she was an adult that
it's
she
like,
would
are
have
you
just
gonna,
passed.
Are you going to report it? Are you going to say my daughter just sat here and died eventually? Like, how are you going to try and cover it up? So it's one of those things. It's like even the cops come in. It's like, you guys don't look like you had any plans here. Were you guys just going to leave
remember,
her
Sheila
forever?
works with the damn police, so she'd probably cover it up and she'd probably get away with it too.
Possibly, but at the same time, it's like you would to cover that.
How
up.
long, dude? They're in their mid-60s.
True. I
mean, how long could they go? They've already went 12 plus years without any issues hiding her. They go another 12. They've lived their whole lives, possibly. Mm-hmm. That's a long, healthy life. They're well into their 80s.
But yeah, it's like I don't think they were planning on her living that long. Yeah, I don't think they were planning on her living that long.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think you can call it denial or whatever, but I think they thought they could outlive this.
Yeah,
they would die before it's a problem. You know what I'm saying?
They could just ignore it until they died.
Yeah.
Just pretend like it's not there. Yeah, and that's kind of like, it seemed that way to an extent. It was, because it wasn't, I don't want to say anything gross or anything, but it wasn't something like, putting a child down in the basement and locking them away. It was like she was...
Wait, they were in their 60s. I was thinking they were in their 70s. So, I don't know.
But yeah, it's like it wasn't something of like, that, I don't want to say gross abuse, but more of like direct, violent
It's
abuse.
pretty gross, man. Like they
Yes,
had
I
to walk
get
by
that.
her every time.
I'm like I said, I'm trying to word it more of like, it's not something along the lines of more of a direct, violent attack abuse. It's not like hitting or beating
Right.
or any kind of sexual advances. It is this slow, just apathetic abuse of
Yeah.
neglect and torture over years, to where it's like, because you couldn't do it all at once. It wouldn't just be like, we have this routine, we started on this day, and it never changed. It had to slowly build
Yep.
into this comfort level of like, what is now normal to us, and like how do we just slowly start compartmentalizing and pushing
Yeah.
that away, because it's like little bit less food here, a little bit less food, a little bit less wipes, a little bit that towel can be good for a few more days. It's like it slowly starts to build until it gets
overwhelming.
yeah, until it gets
They
to
don't
this
know what to
point,
do.
and now you're stuck here. So yeah, it's like you guys did not have a plan after this. I feel like you guys just hoped it would go away, and it never. It ended up.
I'll tell you.
You got caught because of it. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, there was no covering this up. There was no getting away from it. There was no avoiding it in the end either.
No,
So-
but it's still astounding. It just goes to show that I guess Lacey had no one else really close in her life, because the last people that she reached out to, she was 27 at the time, and she reached out to some friends through email. And a lot of people speculate, well, Sheila or Clay could have sent those emails to make it seem like she's alive. But her friends say that it sounded just like Lacey, because she still seemed like a child as far as her like interest.
Yeah.
Because they rambled on and on about various Disney movies and DVDs that she owned and she was watching and whatnot. My thing is, like, if she didn't leave the couch, how did she put the DVDs in?
I eventually
So somebody was coming in there and putting movies on for her,
yeah
and letting
eventually
her shit in the couch.
it's this happens in 2022, so streaming happens and they're able to just get a remote with a Fire Stick
very
or
true.
something, but
Very
yeah,
true.
so eventually
But she
there.
was found with stacks of Disney DVDs beside her, though.
Oh yeah, so I don't know how they must have figured this out, unless they had wired the DVD player up somewhere where she could reach it, and the wire went to the TV over there or something. But
Yeah, it's weird.
she didn't have they didn't give her tools, they didn't give her things to increase her abilities. They limited everything she had. They just kept pulling it back until she was just stuck in this one little section of the couch.
Pretty much.
So yeah, there was no getting away from it. There was no escaping it. It was something that they couldn't ignore it any longer. I'm so happy that at least a neighbor found it when they did. Unfortunately, it was too late.
God.
But
Yeah, it's very late.
it's very too late. But at least they were caught.
But without that intervention, possibly they never pay for this. Mm-hmm. And that's horrifying in itself. But then again, we would never know.
Or they get, or even if
it's
they don't, or if they even get caught years later, they could have gotten a decade or more of freedom before they ever
Right.
got caught, because nobody would have known she was there.
Exactly.
So,
Well, they probably didn't give her any good quality natural deodorant either.
no, absolutely not, Michael.
They did
And
not.
I know this is gonna be a hard segue to make
It
for
is a
this
very
episode,
difficult
but like,
segue. It's,
there's nothing really you can cover up with this. Listen,
I don't want to come across as insensitive.
We love
This
Oh My
is-
Gaia, and I think Oh My Gaia can do a lot of things. I don't think Oh My Gaia could have fixed the smell in this house, but it can help our listeners.
Probably not enough scented oil in the world.
No.
Oh My Gaia can help you guys, because Oh My Gaia is an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. Guys, there's tons of scents to choose from on Oh My Gaia. You can check those out at ohmygaia.com. That's ohmygaia.com. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the code word CREEPER for 15% off your order. And that's ohmygaia.com, ohmygaia.com. There's a link right below the description of this episode, as well as the keyword, which is CREEPER, by the way. 15% off.
Creeper?
It is Creeper, Andy. You got
Creeper.
it. There you go. Quit paying full price, you idiot.
Yeah, Creeper.
But guys, thank you very much. Please support those who support us, the ads that you hear in the episodes. We appreciate that very much. Also, we appreciate it when you go and leave a review or leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify. Also, please check out patreon.com/truecrimeguys, where for just $2 a month, you guys can help support us and, help us keep doing what we're doing here, Andy.
Mm-hmm. And guys, please check out our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
and subscribe on there. Leave some comments on some videos. It helps push those algorithms. We want to get some more people watching these things.
That's right.
We're having a good time making some of these videos. So yeah, please, recommend it to your friends. Check out our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe all those videos.
Right on. New Stranger Unexplained video will be up very soon. Also, please check out Spotify. We have music on there. We have a few albums on there. You can stream some of that music. What else we got, Andy? Check us out on social media at True Crime Guys. Wherever you're at, give us a follow, DM us, send us a case suggestion. Oh, speaking of case suggestions, wow, I almost forgot. I feel like a real douche. Thina from Cryptic Soup Podcast suggested this horribly sad case. Lacey Fletcher. Thank you, Thina, so much for bringing us down this week after that fun roofman case we had last week. But life's about balance.
Right?
Life is about balance, Andy.
We were so happy last week. We were just so giddy. Like, the world is a good place, Michael. Look at it.
I like crime again.
This is fun.
But no, thank you very much, Thina. That was perfect timing. Hit me up for a case. And yeah, guys, please go check out Thina's podcast, Cryptic Soup, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Just did a fun episode on Chris Benoit over there, the Rabid Wolverine.
That's right.
Go check that episode out. I was a big fan of that episode.
Andy,
so good job,
big
guys.
Wrestling fan.
Good job, girls. It was a fun episode.
All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for us. We'll see you next week with a new regular True Crime Guys case, right, Andy?
Oh, absolutely, creepers.
All right, guys. Until then, just keep on creeping.
Bye.